What is going on, everyone? It's your boy Rudy Rodriguez Showmont here. We're back with another edition of Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Ring the bell, leave your comments. We did our live yesterday from the stadium. Thank you to everyone who jumped on board. We will do it again next week for the game against Virginia Tech. I don't know if they've announced a time yet for it. Before we jump in, let me see if there is a time that's been announced for this game. I hope it's a day game. It's a 12 noon game. Thank the football gods. Thank you to the football gods. 12 noon. I get to have a life next Saturday night. I'm greatly appreciative. So thank you, football gods. That said, let's talk about this game. Again, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I did my short recap, instant reaction from the stadium. I did post it on Instagram and YouTube. But this is my more detailed reaction to this game. Where has this been? That is the first statement on this. Where has this been? This was an exceptional performance on both sides of the ball. The defense was once again absolutely dominant. The defense's domination this year, I mean, they have been fantastic. Even in the games that they've lost, I think they've done well enough to win. I mean, SMU, sure, Kevin Jenks threw for a lot of yards, but they ran the ball for -2 yards in regulation. Louisville, they largely stopped them after the first quarter, and did a very good job there too. And they set us up for a chance to win the game, in regulation as well. So they've done their job the last, these last 2 weeks against Syracuse and NC State. They've been otherworldly spectacular, and then they gave up 285 yards to Syracuse, but they only give 85 yards passing to the starting quarterback, Ricky Collins. They actually gave up more yards on the ground, but this week was a dynamic, dominating performance. NC State comes in with a top 25 offense, averaging 33 points per game, 450 or so yards per game, and they go in there and they absolutely smack the out of NC State yesterday. It was as good a performance as you could possibly ask for. I mean, there's nothing else to say about it other than it was as good of a performance as you could possibly ask for. They were awesome. CJ Bailey was on a heater. He had 19 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. He was completing over 70% of his passes. Well, he is now under that, and he is now at 9 interceptions and no extra touchdowns as the Hurricanes held him to a paltry performance. I mean, very, very. He threw for 120 yards, 17 of 30. He could not get any type of rhythm. The Canes' pressure was in his face, even though there weren't a lot of sacks. He was airmailing some balls. He threw a pick six to Jacoby Thomas, which made it a 10-0 game in the first quarter. And then, I mean, more so, I mentioned it in my video. I said if you stop the run of this team, they have no chance. And it's exactly what happened. Hollywood Smothers, we flat out smothered him. I mean, it was a smothering job. This kid had -2 yards rushing. A guy that was leading the ACC in rushing, or top rusher in the ACC, at least up until last week. One of the best running backs in the ACC. You limit him to 7 carries and -2 yards. I was kind of surprised at the initial game plan by NC State. They threw the ball 4 straight times to start the game. They threw the ball 4 straight times to start the game. And they never seemed to really try to establish a run. And once they tried, it was just this they couldn't get past the line of scrimmage. And that's a good offensive line that NC State has, and they could not keep the relentless defensive pressure out of the backfield. They were tackling in the backfield the entire game. Hollywood Smothers goes for -2 yards. I mean he's leaving with less yards than he came into the game with. They running the ball. They finished with 23 yards rushing. Jaden Scott 7 for 14. CJ Bailey scored the only touchdown in the last minute of the game on a quarterback scramble. He finishes 6 for 11. They hold them to 143 yards of total offense. This is one of the best offenses in the country. I mean, I'm not here to, make it sound like NC State is a great, great team, but offensively, they're very, very good. I mean, they're very, very good offense. This team scored 48 points a week ago against freaking Georgia Tech. You look at them, they were averaging 400 and I think it was 450 plus yards per game. Where have they fallen to is the question. Um, not that far down. I'm probably missing it. I don't see it. I'm blind. Yeah, but one of the better offenses in the country, and points wise, one of the better offenses in the country, averaging almost 33 a game. They're you made them insignificant, and these are the types of performances that the Hurricanes have to show the committee in these last two games. They have to play like this. They have to play exactly like this next week at Virginia Tech, starting at 12 noon. They have to play exactly like this against Pittsburgh. They have no choice, and you see what they can do when they choose to do it. It's really, as a fan, it's frustrating to know that you can find plays in your playbook that actually work, that aren't just swing passes or runs into the back of an offensive line. We still did that at times. We still did that at times, and there were times where I'm scratching my head. But man, at the end of the day, they performed on another level. Akeem Mesdor was fantastic. Seemed to be in the backfield the entire game. Jacoby Thomas has two interceptions, almost a third. And he said, it's just about sticking to your assignments. And that's what even Mario Cristobal talked about in the post-game press conference. Stick to your assignments. Be where you're supposed to be. Stop trying to make a play. The play will come to you. He's right about that. The play will come to you if you are where you're supposed to be. And they were exactly where they were supposed to be pretty much the entire game. The swarming defensively was that attitude that you saw early on those first 5 games. It was swarming and violent. They were violent. They were swarming. They made a statement. They made a statement, man. Everything didn't go according to plan yesterday when it comes to the rest of the country. Notre Dame did get a big win over Pittsburgh, so now you have to beat the hell out of Pittsburgh. Like, you have no choice. They're going to look at these games. They beat the hell out of Pittsburgh. And but Miami did beat NC State worse than Notre Dame beat NC State. So that was really big. Miami has that win over Notre Dame. I know what the rankings might say right now, but if we get to a point where it's 10-2 and 10-2, and you have these similar games, similar wins, better wins against a similar opponent, and you beat them, and you have 3 ranked wins, they only have 1. It's going to be really, really, really hard to keep Miami out of the playoffs. Alabama lost to Oklahoma, which was shocking to me, but it also exposed that Alabama just isn't that good. And maybe they should start looking at Alabama's offense, or that Ty Simpson really isn't that guy, because Oklahoma didn't do it. Oklahoma had 212 yards of offense or something like that. It was ridiculous, but had a pick six. Ty Simpson was trash in this game. But let's get back to it. So, yeah, we didn't have things go our way in terms of all the wins. Georgia did crush Texas, so that got Texas out the way. BYU did win, so that, Utah won. Again, I don't know how the hell you can have Utah in this thing ahead of Miami. I think it's crazy. Um, the rankings have not come out yet for this week in the AP, or have they? Yeah, they did. They came out in the AP already. Miami's moved up to 15. Bama dropped to 10. I mean, of course, only to 10. Texas A&M has a miracle win against South Carolina. They get first place votes. Like, it's comedy. Oklahoma's ranked 8th. Notre Dame is still 9th. So Oklahoma jumps Notre Dame. BYU moves up a spot. Georgia Tech stays at 12. Vanderbilt's at 13. Utah 14. Miami 15. Again, I'm not so concerned about the AP poll. I'm more obviously concerned about the CFP. We were ranked ahead of Georgia Tech last week in the CFP. I presume we'll still be ranked ahead of them with our performance and their pathetic performance against Boston College. Where they get a late lucky win. That damn player for BC who drops the 2-point play was just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. Of course, Bama does not get punished for losing on their home field the way they should be. They should drop that at the top 12. But of course, it's Alabama. That said, you get to 10-2, CFP, they have to really, really look at this thing and look at common opponents. They have to. If they don't, then the whole thing is a scam. But I know people will tell me that it is a scam, and I do think, and I do believe in parts it is a scam. So the rankings right now: Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Georgia, Oregon. Oregon, I don't know how Oregon gets so much love with no important win all year. Ole Miss, Texas Tech, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Alabama, BYU, Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt, Utah, and Miami. So that's where we are right now in the AP poll. The CFP comes out on Tuesday. We will find out Tuesday about everything. Again, this Utah ranking to me is comedy and ridiculous, to be honest. Exact same record. How is Utah ahead of Miami? They have no big wins. It's a joke. It's a joke. Now the offense that was there was some creativity there on offense. They had a play where Malachi Tony has a decision to make. The play specifically, according to Carson Beck, Tony's in motion. He looks over to see if the guy's following him. If the guy's following him, we're in man, and the play is going to go to Carson Beck on that throwback. That would have been a throwback to Carson Beck going down the sideline. So they were really going to put Carson Beck in the position to score a 45 or 50-yard touchdown. Crazy, right? So when he doesn't go in motion, when the DB doesn't go in motion with him, now he knew they were in a zone. So at that point for Malachi Tony, it was a read play. It was a read play, and he threw a dime. He threw a dot, or the kids call it. He threw a dot to JoJo Trader for a 44-yard completion. Got us down to about the 3-yard line, and set up a score to make it 17-0. That was a hell of a throw by Malachi Tony. Just crazy good throw. He had another option later in the game where the play worked. Gerard Pringle was wide open. I don't know what the hell kind of throw Malachi made there, but I don't know if it was like a jump pass. But that would have been a touchdown as well that we didn't have. But the creativity was there. There was a flea flicker as well. They did a lot of different things. They had guys crossing. They went deep. Remember, I've been saying this for weeks. You don't let the bad defense dictate to you that you can't go deep because they're playing deep. We went deep multiple times, completed multiple passes down the field. Carson Beck, I thought, was excellent. 21 for 27, 291, 3 touchdowns. He didn't play most of the fourth quarter. Otherwise, he would have definitely cleared 300 yards. He says he's feeling 100%. I mean, he talked about it. I mean, he was asked about it after the game, talked about recovering from the elbow, not playing in the spring, not playing in the summer. Says he really barely played in the fall camp as well. So this has been a work in progress. But he feels fine. He does feel fine. He says one of the things getting over is that mental hurdle. But he played a darn good game yesterday. They finally let him cook. They finally let him be a quarterback. And you ask yourself why this stuff wasn't happening earlier. It's because they weren't letting him play quarterback. That's the way I feel. and I'm never one of these guys. And if you know me by now, I'm not one of these guys to glaze people. I don't do that. But this guy has gotten unnecessary bull crap from people all season long. Yeah, he threw 4 picks in the game. So freaking be it. Ty Simpson just lost the game for Alabama against Oklahoma, where they were a favorite by 7.5 points. He lost the game at Tallahassee against Florida State by 14. No one's calling to throw that kid under a bus over there. Maybe they are. I'm not sure. But the reactions that we have here over a quarterback that's played otherwise pretty darn good this year, outside of that one game, yeah, you're mad at the SMU game. You want to blame him on that. No, you need to put the blame where it goes. The blame should go to the coaches. That's where the blame belongs. Carson Beck is now throwing for 2,485 yards. He's completing 73.2% of his passes. Now he's at 18 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. Is that better? Is that better? He threw 2 touchdown passes to Malachi Tony. Gerard Pringle, absolutely sensational. What a difference maker. I begged for it all week. Start him. Apparently, they told him on Thursday that he was starting. On Thursday, they told him he was starting. And Cristobal talked about it and says, how could we not let him? I mean, I don't know. You never really gave him an opportunity prior to, you know? So, giving a guy an opportunity doesn't mean giving him an opportunity with the backups in there. Giving someone an opportunity means you give him this opportunity with the starters. That's where you find out what the guy can do in a game. You put him out there with the starters. You let him run behind the big offensive line, the monsters. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how you find out in game situation if that guy can be that guy. He was that guy. Yesterday, he rushed for 17 carries, 116 yards, had 2 catches for 32 yards. First play of the game. First play of the game. A dump off to Gerard Pringle. Goes for a first down. First play of the game. You felt his impact the second he walked on the field. The second the game started, you felt his impact. You felt it because you could see how there were differences in how NC State had to defend us. You want to know why we dominated yesterday? We dominated yesterday because Gerard Pringle provided a different type of attack. He went on the edges. He went inside too, but he went on the edges largely. His speed, dynamic. He blocked just fine for Carson Beck. People were, oh, can he block? Can he block? Well, you won't know until you see him play football, you know. And he blocked just fine. Marty Brown had 45 yards rushing as well, eight carries for 45 yards. The Kings had 581 yards of offense. So yeah, for that committee who complained about Miami's offense, well, you got 581 yards of total offense, 367 in the air, 214 on the ground, a very balanced attack, 37 rushes to 33 passes. You got more domination time of possession, 36-43 to 23-17. Mind you, it was pretty even at halftime. They forced 2 turnovers, only gave up 1. We did get back into committing penalties late in the game, particularly. We did do a good job for the most part until late in that game. That fourth quarter with the backups, that's when we started seeing some of these bad penalties. But overall, this was as complete a performance as the Hurricanes have had all season long. Again, Gerard Pringle coming in the way he played, it was fantastic. Keelan Marin goes 7 catches, 96 yards. A sensational performance. So now what's next? What's next is Virginia Tech. You got to come and play exactly the way you played yesterday, and you play that way on Saturday. You got to do it the exact same way. And I do think that Pringle change has made a big difference with his offense. I do hope it's not too late. I mean, Alabama losing to me was crazy. But you know what? They could lose again. They got to play Auburn. Auburn stinks, but Auburn is always typically interesting. And I do believe the game is at Auburn, which let me verify. The game is at Auburn. So, they have their little podunk game against Eastern Illinois next week, or 2 weeks, and then they got Auburn on the road, and Auburn on the road, gives them trouble. Can give them trouble, and Auburn has shown that they can compete with everybody, and yeah, so that's who knows? I'll take that. I'll take it whichever way I can get it. I'll take it. I'm gonna be real. Do I want Notre Dame to lose to keep it out of the hands of the committee to make a decision? In a sense, yes. In a sense, no. Because I need to have the committee justify to me why Notre Dame is ranked 8th or 9th after all is said and done, and Miami's not ranked ahead of them. With identical records. I will need the committee to explain to the whole country how that team is ranked ahead of Miami with identical records. You'd have to explain it to me. You'd have to. I mean, and you're not going to have an explanation. You're going to look like a clown of a freaking. You're going to look like clowns, like serious clowns, if Miami is not ranked ahead of Notre Dame with identical records. With Miami having won 4 straight games and dominating NC State and dominating Pitt and dominating Virginia Tech. I mean, at the end of the day, if you go at the end of this day, by the end of the year, if you go and you see that Miami has wins, okay, after losing to SMU, beats Syracuse. I know Syracuse is not very good, but 38-10 is 38-10. 41-7. They go beat Tech 42-7. They go beat Pitt 38-14, something like that. Those are 4 ass whippings. Those are 4 whoopings. Like, what do you want these guys to do? Put up 60? Like, what do you want them to do? And you have to consider their games, their wins. I mean, look at Florida last night. Florida gave Ole Miss all kinds of headache on the road. That was they had a 24-20 lead in that game late in the game. DJ Lagway turns completely silly in some of the stuff he does, but they were in that game. They had a chance to win that game. They absolutely did. So you look at how Georgia played against Florida. You look at you got to be very careful before you just dismiss whatever Florida does, because Florida has been giving people trouble all year, and we whooped them. We whooped them. whoop-a-de-dem, you know? By the way, Florida State did beat Virginia Tech yesterday, 34-14. um, so Virginia Tech will be 3-7 coming in. We have to blow them out of the building. I don't care if it's at Virginia Tech. We got to blow them out of the building. It's that simple. Duke is now out of the question because they got beat by Virginia. Virginia still has one game left against Virginia Tech after we play them. So, hey, we'll be cheering for Virginia Tech. That's a home game for Virginia. Um, let's see. SMU still has to play against Louisville. Now, I guess we're pulling for Louisville to win over SMU on the 22nd, which is next week. We will be pulling for Louisville because they're playing at SMU, and I think Louisville can beat SMU. I mean, they can, you know. And then finally, I just think the thing that Pittsburgh has pretty much played an ACC schedule for the most part, but doesn't have to be in the ACC is utterly ridiculous. And Georgia Tech has one more conference game against Pitt. Now we're cheering for Pitt. That's this weekend. We need Pitt to beat Georgia Tech. We need Pitt to beat Georgia Tech. So I think we need, whatever. But that's it, man. The Canes played outstanding. That was as good a game as they played all year. You can't complain. I appreciate everyone who jumped on the live yesterday. It was a great time once again. We are doing Hurricanes Unfiltered live tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday night. Hurricanes Unfiltered live. Please be there. We're gonna open up for phone calls. I want to hear what y'all think, what y'all have to say about this win, because we didn't do a live reaction, but I want to hear what y'all have to say. And well, by the way, Keontae Scott is probably out for the season the way it sounds. So that sucks. That's unfortunate. CJ Daniels dressed, but he didn't play. Hope he can play next week or this weekend. But again, Miami Hurricanes were dominant, 41-7 winners over NC State. As good a performance as you could possibly get. And I do appreciate their effort and their competitive spirit and the fact that they finally opened up that playbook and allowed Carson Beck to play quarterback. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. This is Hurricanes Unfiltered. Power. Come on now, the podcast. Come on now.